to start off, and we're going to talk about. All right, tell us your name and tell me a little bit about your experience.
Okay, my name is Josephine Giordano, and I've been working with TSA for 7 years now. Previously to working for TSA, I worked in the World Trade Center in Manhattan, in New York City. On September 11th, I went to work that morning. It was a beautiful, sunshiny day, and when I got there, it was I worked on the 72nd floor of the World Trade Center, and I was at my desk, and I was asked to do something. So I left my desk, and I had taken the elevator down, and then on the way back up to my office, the first plane hit as I was stepping off the elevator. It became such an atrocity. People were hurt, people were hitting the floor, explosions were going off. I honestly believed that New York City was being bombed. That was my first inclination. I suddenly walked toward the exit because I felt the whole building shake so severely. The building was made to shake to a certain extent, but this was such a severe explosion that the building shook that it actually knocked people off their feet. And then the ceiling was coming down, and fireballs were coming out of the elevators, and I could hear people in the elevators trapped, and it just happened so simultaneously, one thing after another. It became total chaos, and people that were trapped in elevators, I could hear the elevators dropping and people screaming, and I could hear the faint sound of them screaming. I immediately went towards the exit, and I had to travel down all the stairs. As I hit the stairwell, people were already pouring out from floors above, and I could hear screaming in the background. I could hear people saying that the stairwells were separating from the walls, and that they, to please hurry up. But people seemed to be very, very organized, very helpful with each other, and we just quietly proceeded down all those stairs. It took me about 40 minutes to get down the stairs. In that interim, there were people that couldn't make it down the stairs because they were either in wheelchairs or they just didn't have the capacity to be able to walk down all those steps. So we tried helping people on each landing. We tried to get the wheelchair people carried out as much as possible down the stairs. People were helping each other, stopping, and then other people would take over because, it couldn't be done by just two people. One thing I noticed too, when the firemen were coming up the stairways, okay, they had this blank expression on their face, like they knew that they were walking to their doom. That's what it looked like to me anyway. I could see a blank expression on their face, and they just would walk past us. And as we finally got downstairs, people were just pouring out of the building. The building started to come down at that point, but it wasn't a total collapse at that point because debris from the explosions was just kind of whirling around everywhere. We were all breathing that in, and I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I was getting a pain in my chest, so I had walked over to an ambulance to get oxygen, and the paramedic said, well, please step inside. And I told him that I didn't want to go to the hospital, that I just wanted to breathe some oxygen. And he handed me the oxygen mask, and then he said, please step inside. So I stepped inside, I sat down. Right away he hooked up all the monitors, and he said, you're going to the hospital. The fellow next to me had half a face. He was hit with debris from the building, and the hospital was already filled. The nearest hospital was already filled to capacity. So they had to take me to a different hospital, to Beth Israel Hospital, which was on the other side of town. That whole day was a day of anxiety and the atrocity itself that occurred. People were pulling together to some extent. Other people just seemed to remain numb. And from that day on, the following day, I had worked on the emergency response team. I was in the hospital. I was discharged. I signed myself out. and I worked in JFK on the emergency response team in Building 14. After that, I was transferred to Jersey City, where I worked in the environmental field operations for the construction management division. And from there, I was transferred from Jersey City to Newark. In the interim, they had meetings every day for whoever needed to attend, because people had suffered severely from what they saw and what they experienced and the lives that were lost. And we were all one big family, you know, because we were with each other every single day. Some of us would see more of our coworkers than we did our own families, and we were there to help each other and to support each other at these meetings. We didn't have to go every day, only when we felt that it was necessary. And then I was transferred to Newark in the financial center, and that got to the point where it was very difficult for me to deal with the stress of traveling on the subway trains, because during this heating summertime, the lights would go out, the trains would stop, so I started to feel too stressed. So one day at work, when I was in Newark, I saw the advertisement for TSA that they were hiring, and I said this would be the perfect opportunity for me to be able to do something for the people in the United States to try to help prevent any kind of atrocity like this to ever occur again. And I put in my application, I was accepted, and I went through the training portion of it, and I became a supervisor at JFK International Airport in New York. And I worked there for a good 6 years, and I enjoyed the job immensely. I watched TSA grow, and I've seen how far we've become and how far we have to go. And I think that if everyone was prepared that day the way we are prepared today, I think we definitely could have prevented that from happening. And I just hope to continue that everybody has the strength to be able to go forward with TSA, because any type of traveling environment should be secure and safe, whether it be the airport, the subway, any kind of transportation. It's very important that where people gather together in large numbers should be safe and secure.
Kindness yet for all mankind. So here's a hand of my trusty friend, and give us a hand of thine. We'll meet again some other day for the days of auld lang syne.